So I'm Claire Poole. I'm the CEO and founder of Sport Positive, based in London in the UK.
And what does being strong mean to you?
So I kind of reflected on this in terms of what strong means to me. And I guess your gut reaction when you talk about being strong, you think about physical strength. Physical strength comes to me first of all, but not being incredibly physically strong, it doesn't resonate with me as much as the strength kind of around resilience, emotional resilience, and as well strength in supporting others, I guess, as well as where I go with that. So I guess that physical strength is a really obvious one, because when you think about something being strong, you think it being able to withhold, or withstand something, or withhold something, or, lift heavy items or whatever. But actually, I think in terms of how strength resonates with me more personally is about, sort of strength under pressure, being resilient. And again, as a woman, supporting others a lot of the time, or feeling the desire, but also understanding how important it is for others in certain situations to give them that strength, or to stay strong, depending on how the situation, whatever the situation is playing out. So I guess it's lots of different things, but for me, I think that resonates the most at kind of more of an emotional resilience sort of level of strength.
And can you share an experience when you had to be strong, and how did you handle it?
Yeah, so this is, I could share loads. I feel like, again, as you get older, you're 45 strong. I turned 40 in 2023. So I kind of, as you get older, you gather more experiences, don't you? And you go through more things. And whether that's, myself and my friends and my family, whether it's bereavements or divorces or financial challenges or baby loss, as you get older as well, I think you see kind of elements where you have to be strong, or certain situations where you're thinking about being strong for others happen more frequently as you get older, as you gather more life experiences and more lived experiences. So there's loads I could talk to you about that, but kind of a more personal experience, but also kind of work related, is every year we host our annual Sport Positive Summit, and we were so honored to have you speak with us in 2023, and it was an incredible couple of days, and it brings the global industry together, and it's the real I guess it's the real cornerstone of our work and what we work towards every year. We work on it year round, and it's a really big deal, to us and helpful for the industry. So it's a big moment across those 2 days. And in 2023, at the last day, my 93-year-old grandma, I found out sort of the afternoon of the first day of our summit, had a terrible fall, and we thought we were going to lose her. And my grandma as well, she's 90, she was 93 at the time. She's coming up for 94 now. This, people say that she's had a good innings, she's losing her independence and stuff. She is still very switched on, but, she's getting very old. And you kind of think, well, this would be expected to happen at some point. But I think because I've got such a special relationship with her, and she was, she's been such a big part of my life, I'm so lucky to still have, both my grandmothers at the age of 40. It's incredible. So for something to have happened to her during the summit as well, it was my sister rang me, and she'd got her dates mixed up and thought the summit was coming to an end, but actually it was only the afternoon of the first day, and we still had the evening and the next day, and then I had another full day meeting the day after that. So there was a long run in before I was sort of going to be able to get up and see her. And that I sort of reflect on that in terms of your question about having to be strong and how you handled it, because my gut reaction in that situation, being so close to my family and my grandmother being such an important part of my life, is to ditch everything and go. That is when you're so close to your family, that's your immediate gut reaction. But you've also, again, as you get older, in terms of thinking about being strong, strength and responsibility to others as well, in terms of what decisions you make that then sort of have ramifications for other people. So the team and the industry, I was chairing the whole of the next day. What would have happened with that? The whole team are looking to me to be that leader and to draw everyone together to continue sort of the project and have a really successful event. Hundreds of people have traveled from all over the world, from Australia and Japan and America, and we've got meetings with them, and you've got a responsibility to sort of discharge that no matter what's going on in your life. So it was really difficult to the kind of how I had to be strong was basically bury it essentially until that project was done, because like I was in constant communication with my family about how she was and what was happening. And as soon as it finished, I was like straight up to Liverpool, you know, to be with them. And thank God she kind of, even though she was very close to death, she pulled through, and she's still going and she's amazing. But that strength for me at that time, I didn't even tell the team, because I'm so close to her and it would have been so highly charged and emotional that I thought if I mention it to anyone, on a personal level, they're going to be like, you have to go, you have to go. And I thought, I don't have the strength to say no to that. So my strength with that was just to like push it down, handle it. And it was like a switch, Kate, at the end of the summit, in terms of the exhaustion of everything, of bringing it together. Also, like now trying to get up there, I was supposed to be going for dinner with colleagues in the evening of that second day. And I rang Sheila, one of my good friends, you know, who was speaking at the summit and had come over from Australia, and with Norman from the Eagles over from the US, all these people who were having a dinner, and I was joining in the evening in floods of tears, like, I just can't come, I can't come, this is what's been happening. And but again, like when it was done, the time for being strong was over, and then you can sort of carry on. And then I carried up. But I just think I think it's an interesting reflection, and even you asking me these questions is a really interesting reflection of what strength is. And I realize as well, again, as you get older, your concept of strength changes a lot in terms of what strength looks like in certain situations and how you manage that. So sorry, hopefully that wasn't too long, but I just thought that was a real that was a sort of something quite recent that was really like, I have to handle this, you know, and get on, basically.
Yeah. And I think it reflects in what you said about being strong. It's about having that collaboration almost. It's about supporting other women. So your family were able to support you to
Yes.
be that leader. But on the same token, you could support them knowing that they were looking after your grandma.
Yeah, exactly. So it is. And I do think if you'd have asked me this question at 30, and if you'd have asked me this question at 20, I'd have such different answers. I think, again, as you gather experience and you get older, and you kind of have these, you have, I think, yeah, such different reactions to these sort of questions that you're asking. And I can't wait to see the other women that you're chatting to about this, and sort of the stage they're at and what their answers are, because I think I would have given very different questions in my 20s and in my 30s compared to now.
I agree.
Yeah.
But another question then, leading nicely onto this, how do you think societal expectations about women affect the concept of strength?
I think it's a really interesting question around societal expectations, and the concept of strength is so big. I think I'm not quite sure how to answer that, apart from to say that I think women's strength is frequently overlooked because it's quiet strength. I think male strength is more ostensibly physical in a lot of cases, not all cases, obviously. There's hundreds and thousands and millions of incredibly physically strong women, but I think more broadly, if you're not an athlete, or you're not, you know, in a profession where you need to have that, most women's strength is quiet strength of, I think, of the heterosexual relationships around me. It's the woman who's like the strength and stay, that makes stuff happen, that stays calm in a crisis, that supports the family, you know, kind of that take on the physical and the emotional and the spiritual workload of making stuff happen. And their role generally, again, there's always exceptions, and I'm just talking about my personal experience and kind of people I see around me, is that strength around the workload of keeping everything going tends to eclipse the male partners, who perhaps, again, you know, almost they think, well, if the male partner is able to go out to work and go to these things, he's going to be better at home if we do that. So I'm okay to take on everything, like unmanageable amounts of stuff to keep things going, because I can see the bigger picture about how we're going to be better together with this. But I feel it's because women just get on with it, that strength is often overlooked. We don't sit down with like a list and say, these are all the things we do, but it's a constant juggle of so many different, like, physical work. Most of my friends are working, as well as raising a family, as well as supporting their partners, and kind of keeping the house going, managing all the kids stuff. And it's not just the physical, it's the emotional workload and the, you know, spiritual of keeping everything going. But I think as well, the kind of emotional intelligence that goes along with that. And I think what's interesting about societal expectations about the concept of strength within women is that you can pile everything on women as caregivers, as, you know, that's just unpaid labor, constant unpaid labor of keeping things going, and let alone women who have remained strong through trauma in their own lives, or the lives of their children, or whatever. I think I just think broadly the concept of strength in women is overlooked because it's quiet strength that just gets on with it, doesn't look for accolades, doesn't look for, you know, people to say, well done, you're being so strong and doing this. It's just part of the fabric of women's lives for the most part. So yeah, I think that societal expectation piece of what's expected of women in key situations is just completely overlooked, I think.
Yeah, that's super interesting, and we could spend like 5 hours unpacking your defense.
I know, and I think that's the case even where women themselves have the privilege to not hold trauma themselves. It's still expected. But then I look at, again, people I know, my own life of people who have held their own trauma of having to be strong through a lot of things that have happened for their children or for their family, because it's that saying strong for others and knowing that you, in certain situations, you can't necessarily lean on others for things because of what the ramifications of what that might be. So that strength to like self-actualize independently without leaning on others or necessarily looking to others to do that is just incredible.
What one of my girlfriends and I have started to do is sending voice messages to each other, because it gives us a space to just reflect on what's happening without actually getting unsolicited support or unsolicited advice. We just want to share, see what's there and pick through it, heal, take what's important, and then move from that.
I love a voice note. All my friends are exactly the same. Like, we're just like, hi, it's me. Here, okay, so here's what's happening. Here's what's going on. What's going on with you? What happened with that? How's everything with it? Yeah, because it's, again, it's part of, isn't that really interesting that as well? Is that part of the fact that as women, I suppose everyone's really busy, but as women, again, doing more, it's so difficult to find convenient times to get on the phone and have that conversation. So the exchange of voice notes is so much more accessible to just have that conversation over a longer period in little voice notes.
Yeah, micro podcasts, but I need to learn to say it more succinctly.
Exactly, 100%.
So how has your understanding of strength influenced your approach to success and goal setting?
So another like just super interesting question around this, and I think this again feeds into the fact that I would have given you a very different answer 10 and 20 years ago. But I think this, on a personal level, reflect on, I had a back injury like 5 years ago, and I used to run a lot and sort of do marathons and half marathons and tough mudders and, you know, kind of half Ironmans and stuff like that. And I'd had like a systemic back issue, which then turned into an injury. It turns out I've got like a bulged disc and there's issues with that. And I went to a physio and they were like, yeah, you shouldn't be running anymore. And I thought, not the answer I was looking for. So I went to another physio and they were like, yeah, as long as you do this like regimen and take it easy and listen to your body, this is fine. But again, I think the strength in terms of that success and goal setting, I realized how much running was part of mental strength for me, very much less about physical gains. You know, runners aren't known, you know, it's you're not building yourself up, but there's not a lot of strength within the kind of resilience training, obviously, but you're not kind of running really to as part of an aesthetic. For me, it's more, or it wasn't for me anyway, it's more that mental, that time to have time to yourself mentally. So with this back injury, again, I'd previously, ahead of this, really thought about running in terms of setting goals and having success. So I'd train, I'd enter, I'd run, I'd look at my times, I'd respond to the next one in terms of continually chasing a PB and improving on my times. Again, like part of who we are and trying to continually improve and hold ourselves, you know, to account and try and push that sort of goal setting. That was very much intertwined with what I was doing. And as I had this back injury, that was when I reflected on how much the physical goals were getting me out, but actually the benefits I was getting was more mental than physical. So again, the change of the understanding of strength and how that influenced my approach to success flipped in that case, because actually I realized that the bigger goal for me mentally was not just pushing on with running the way I used to run, come what may, you know, in terms of seeing success in a slightly different light. And actually that success now, to me, within that context, is being strong, being healthy, staying mobile, being supple for a long time, not a particular number on a clock against a certain distance, but actually the longer term success of being able to do that, you know, that being a success, that being part of the strength. Almost the flip of before I'd seen strength as success in certain times. Now I see success as almost giving myself the space to not push that and understand that actually the benefits I get out of it are much, much bigger than that. So I think that overcoming frustrations, being thankful for being able to run at all after, you know, kind of maybe not being able to still put on a pair of trainers and go out, start when I fancy, stop when I fancy, and not being obsessively goal oriented instead. I think that, I think again, yeah, if you'd asked me that before this back injury, I would have said success and goal setting is about setting a goal, going at it come what may, not taking no for an answer, smashing it, running through the pain, getting a good time, feeling really, really happy and successful with that. But since this, it's about, you know, making sure that hopefully I can go out and do a few miles when I'm 80. That would be success.
Yeah, we've had a very similar path, because I had a hip injury and I couldn't run anymore, and had a very similar revelation to what you said, in that I was using it as a mental support vehicle rather than physical. And there's a Chinese proverb that really helped me through it, which was set your goal in stone and your journey in sand. And again, I always thought the goal was a PB or a certain speed or a certain distance, but it's not. It's our feeling, it's our sense of worth, it's our contentment, or that bigger picture, that sort of purpose words. And the journey was the run or the PB, but not the goal itself.
100%. And I, again, isn't it really interesting that maybe other people see stuff that you don't see? So sometimes, like around before the back injury, even my now husband, then partner, would say to me, have you been out for a run this week? And I'd say, oh, it's been so busy at work, I haven't had time to get it in. And he'd go, you should, you know, do you know what I mean? And I think I take that, like I would say the same to him if he's been a pain in the bum, like that's fine. But I just thought, isn't it interesting that other people can see, he could see the benefits that I got out of that more than I could at the time. I just think that's, it's part of the journey, as you said, of the sort of change and finding strength in different ways.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah. So much.
Have you gone for a run today?
I haven't, because today's a rest day. I did get out yesterday, and also I had meetings in town this morning, and I've been out. I actually had a call before this that was just a sort of one-to-many call that I was listening in on. So I went for a lovely walk, because it's lovely and bright in London today. I thought I could sit at my desk, but no, put it on my phone and go for a walk. So rest day today and longer run tomorrow. But yeah, again, if it doesn't happen, Kate, you know, that's okay.
Awesome. And from your own experience, what's one tip or technique for developing a nurturing strength you can share with us?
Yeah, so I probably have two from me in terms, I think developing and nurturing strength for me has come massively through self-reflection and thinking, taking the time to understand yourself, which is, it seems like so simple. What am I even talking about? But again, I turned 40 last year, and I look at myself at 30 and I think you didn't know who you were or what you were about, or, you know, it's the connection and the relationship with yourself. You realize again as you get older that, you know, when people tell you youth wasted on the young, like I'm only 40, we're not 60, 70, but you can see where people talk to you about that. Because I think I was so when I was younger, I think I was much more aware of kind of appearing strong, being a certain mold, being certain things for certain people, living up to an expectation or a perceived expectation. It was probably something I put on myself, you know, it probably wasn't even drawn from other people. But kind of that idea now of self-reflection, understanding yourself, taking time to reflect and think about what strength is, how you garner it, where you get it from, not in a positive way, not in like a negative berating way of putting yourself down where you don't feel like you've been strong or you haven't done that in a certain way, but certainly being aware. I think being aware of what you bring to the table, your strengths and the weaknesses, and helping develop and nurture those strengths, but also think about, you know, where am I not as strong, and is that somewhere I can reflect on and maybe develop more? And maybe it's by, to your point that you mentioned earlier, maybe it's through sort of being vulnerable and asking for help and connecting with other people. Because again, I feel like when I was younger, I didn't do that. I felt like I had to be perceived in a certain way and, you know, be all things to all people and show yourself in a certain way. And it's very, very difficult to ask for help or to be vulnerable in certain situations. And again, I think that by being that, if you're vulnerable, other people tend to be vulnerable, and that tends to help develop and nurture that strength in yourself and others as well, and develop those relationships. So I think that self-reflection piece in terms of developing and nurturing strength. But the other side, again, which you mentioned about, you know, sharing voice notes with friends, I think the strength that I get from female friends, especially like that, those bonds and that nourishment of those friendships and relationships, to me, have been so important in developing that strength. Because again, as you go through your life, you collect these experiences and you go through lots. And I think female friendships are so special in terms of that open communication and shared experiences that you can really be honest with your good friends about and stuff. So I think they ground me. I think they help nourish me. I think they nurture that strength in me and within them and our relationships as well. So I'm very fortunate to have, you know, incredible female friends from school, from uni, from work, from sport. And it's an incredible privilege to have those. But I think those, the self-reflection piece, and then also developing those relationships to enable that development of strength as well. For me, it would be, I think, the tips and techniques that I've got a lot from, which don't feel like tips and techniques. It just sort of feels like experiences and learning. But they're the things I think I probably get the most development and nurturing of strength from.
Yeah, I love them. And my not so secret plan about 45 strong is I don't have many friends that are women, and I'm trying to blur the lines of professional colleagues into a friendly zone. So reaching out and making this happen and having conversations that we would never have otherwise. Exactly. It's such a blessing.
Oh God, it's incredible. And I think, especially in like sport and sustainability, I've been so fortunate, again, because of the nature of my job is that I'm talking to people all day, every day, and it's male and female friends. But again, I think there's so many people now that I've been colleagues with for so long. They are friends. Like, we do meet up socially. We do spend a lot of time that we should be on work calls catching up on each other's lives and stuff. And I think that is, again, as you said, such a blessing, because your whole life of, you know, if you're lucky, I read some once, if you're lucky to have like 3 people you could like call on for anything, like you're the richest person in the world to have just a small of, a handful of really close friends. But that, as you said, to me, life is about making these connections and having these relationships and that kind of thing. So being able to develop that through things like this is incredible, Kate, and it's more power to you for bringing everyone together around this. Is awesome.
Thank you. And the final question is actually the first question, because I do like circles. So what does being strong mean to you? So
strong to me means being resilient. It means supporting yourself and others, but it also means strength also means being vulnerable and knowing yourself and opening yourself up to asking for help when you need it as well. Thank you so much, Claire. It's been so insightful, and I'm so very blessed for you to be one of my 45 strong women. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So lovely to chat. Good luck with all the rest of them. Keep me updated. Let me know if you need anything, and we'll be in touch. Okay, much love. All right, my love. Take care. All the best. Bye.